Hey there, welcome to the season freaking finale of Westeros Weekly. This is a show where we specifically answer a bunch of your questions that you asked us on Twitter, and we'll get right to the main big question in just a second. But first, my name is Filup Molina.
Hi.
With me as always.
My name is Maude Garrett. It was so clear what this episode's big question was because it was asked, 1,000 times, and it was everyone screaming at their TVs when we were watching this episode. Tyrion, what's up your ass?
Right?
Yeah, didn't he look a little bit upset when Jon and Dany were bound chicka wow?
Why you gotta hate Tyrion?
Finally getting some. First, though, we have to address what the actors have actually come forward and said about this particular moment. Now, Peter Dinklage explains that his expression is just a look of concern. Look kind of angry, jealous, but no, it's concern. He says, it's dangerous for everybody involved.
Sex, I guess.
No, for Jon and Dany.
Yeah, I know. That also lines up with what Kit Harington said, basically that it's like a runaway train. It's not a good thing, but you can't stop it. No, you kind of can, but anyway.
You say stop.
Yeah. Either way, what is the concern over the boat boinking, or batoinking, as I've said before, TM? If you think about it, it does make sense from Tyrion's perspective.
If that particular perspective is about political influence and the best thing involved. Basically, Tyrion does not like love in political influence because he thinks that it complicates things.
Right. Can you say Tyrion and Shay, Cersei and Jaime, Rhaegar and Lyanna, Robb Stark and Talisa. How about that one? Littlefinger and Lysa. Coupledom messes with people's minds and makes them do dumb things. And yes, I'm talking about in real life too.
Yeah, I can say all those things, actually. It's interesting. If you do look back at Tyrion's relationship with Dany, though, he's always pushed other suitors away. Have you noticed this?
Yes.
A couple of seasons ago, he was like, nah, get rid of Jorah. He's got the grayscale bye. Even though in the books, they had like half a book of traveling together and they were looking out for one another and they had a great camaraderie. But he's a threat when it comes to Dany, so bye-bye. He also asked Dany to break things off with Daario Naharis as well. And we haven't seen him, all season. So when someone gets up in Dany's grill, he sends them away. And I think that maybe he has this boring explanation of love is complicated.
And it messes up with war and battle strategy.
But that's like snore.
Yeah,
This is
I mean,
Game
it's
of Thrones.
probably, to be clear, that's probably what it is. That's probably the accurate one. The actor said that.
But come on, the juicier reason why he's all salty about this is because, Tyrion is in love with Daenerys. That has to be it, right?
There it is.
Yeah.
That's the one I was waiting for you to say.
Yeah. Tyrion's so... Oh, wow. Yeah, he likes that, doesn't he? So let's have a look at some of the evidence that does support this. Firstly, in this particular episode that we saw, the finale, Cersei says that Dany is Tyrion's type. And to quote, she says, I wouldn't be surprised, I suppose. She's your kind of woman. A foreign whore who doesn't know her place.
She's so breathy.
You notice that she also does this thing with her bottom lip.
Oh,
where she
yes,
barely
definitely.
Yeah.
It's very intimidating.
That's what she was saying.
Yes.
And I get that her saying that was a joke. It was just to take a stab at Tyrion and his past. But I think she knows Tyrion so well. She's known him her whole life. Oh, no, his whole life.
His whole life.
His whole life. And I think that there is a little bit of substance to that particular thing.
And it's obviously about Shay, is what she's alluding to. But even just putting Dany in the same category as Shay does kind of feel like that's on purpose. Remember, he does love that.
And she also incidentally gets to call Dany a whore. So that's like the double insult that Cersei loves so much. Yeah. And then, of course, you've got Dany, who wanted to run off and rescue Jon when things were going bad north of the wall. And she gets on a dragon and goes off with 2 more dragons to save him. And Tyrion's there going, no, bad idea, stay, Cersei. Was it because he thought that she could never come back? Yes. And was it because he's in love with her? Yeah. The threat was really bad. He didn't think that she would survive.
So you thought it was like heart-longing reasons why he said don't go.
It's please don't leave me here.
Aww. He did look pretty lonely too. Because remember, all of the dragons take off and he's just standing there on the cliff.
Yeah, and he just had a moment with dragons as well. Maybe he's in love with the dragon. I don't know. I think it's just been a while since he's had love, right, Phil? Female? No?
What do you mean, right?
And then thirdly, Dany has been relying more and more on Jon's advice over Tyrion's. I mean, when you look at it, where has Tyrion got Dany on his advice? Well, lost Highgarden, lost a lot of the Dawn army, and the Greyjoys, half those ships have gone as well. So now Dany's there going, Tyrion, what do you think? Actually, no, Jon,
What do you think? Twirl, twirl, yeah.
And Tyrion's like, I'm the hand. I'm the one that's supposed to give you advice. So if you're not if you're going to listen to him for advice, and now you're going to padoink. Is that it?
Badoink?
My bad.
Patoink is another phrase that means something awful in certain countries.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Badoink.
Yeah.
Then there is no need for Tyrion anymore. And I feel like he's needing a purpose. He needs a place because he's completely ostracized himself from the Lannisters.
Yeah, and as much as I do want to kind of say that, like, what Tyrion having this big crush on Daenerys all of a sudden is kind of like out of left field. It has been a long time since Tyrion has been interested in anyone on the show, but it definitely was a big part of the show. And it's not like he suddenly like went and like got himself unsullied or something. Like, he still has desires like any man does.
And he's one of the more promiscuous characters.
Yeah,
Thank you very
promiscuous
much.
boy.
Yeah.
I'm talking to you. So I get them wanting to bring that back up,
Yeah.
but also big thing to realize, and I think I remembered very recently. A love triangle between Jon and Tyrion and another woman actually always was part of George R.R. Martin's plan.
I have heard about this, but the third person in this triangle, I did not believe it. So please tell everyone.
Okay, there's this very famous letter that Grimmy sent to his publisher way back in like 1993. It lays out why he thinks that this Game of Thrones book of his is gonna be like a huge epic story. Like, invest in it. Go ahead. Like, it's gonna take me like 8 months to write it, or whatever. But in it, he outlines where he plans for the book to go, and it's a really fascinating read. Actually, look it up. Google 1993 George R.R. Martin letter, and it's like somebody wrote like fan fiction about Game of Thrones, but it's like really good because a lot of alternate storylines that never came to be. But one of them is very relevant because, first off, in that version, it's actually Arya who ends up falling in love with Jon.
That's even
Jon
worse.
and Arya together.
Because they grew up together and known each other since they
Right.
were kids. This is not as bad as
Yeah,
the
it's still
Jon
like
and Dany.
incesty, but also in the way where it's like we feel like we're siblings. Yeah, but there actually would be cousins instead of aunt and uncle. Anyway.
Here's Needle. Use it.
What? No. Here's needle. I've given you my. Oh no.
Stick it.
It's gross. But here's the weird thing too. Jon loves her back in that. Like, he also is in love with Arya. They just hit it off that way. So in that same story, Tyrion ends up kind of being a bad guy for like a while, which he kind of does in the show too initially. But he is the one that sacks Winterfell, not the Boltons. And he has to redeem himself after when he feels bad. So he, just like he does in the show, he switches sides. And then he meets and falls in love with Arya.
That's so weird.
Boom. Jon, Tyrion, Arya love triangle.
Right.
It was part of his plan.
So if the executive producers who have gone to George R.R. Martin for a lot of content about what to do for this particular season, since we don't have the books, if they decided to use that but then just switched out the Arya part of it all and added in Daenerys, there is that love triangle, right? It could happen.
You think it's going to happen?
Sure. You know what? If you're in Westeros, take a damn ticket because everyone's in love with
With
Daenerys.
Dany.
Yeah.
There's just like not a lot of silver-haired ladies walking around.
With three
those
dragons.
creepy gray eyes too. Yeah. So now, of course, the worry about love interfering with war still is probably the real answer. And then this script love for Dany thing could also be an answer. But we got one more answer that ERIK and I went into in the breakdown that we shot. It's our theory time. So check that out. It involves Cersei.
Oh, haha, I think I know that one and I don't like it at all. I don't think that it's happened, but who knows? If you want to get involved, you have to watch it. But now let's get into our last check-in of the map for the entire season until 2019.
19.
That's 2 years.
I'll
Sophia,
be
where is it
21
from?
by then.
You can drink.
Yeah.
Yay, you're a real boy.
So it's kind of weird. Like, it's really consolidating who's with who and where they are. So it's going to get a lot easier to point out. But I'll just show you here, starting at King's Landing. We have Cersei, but this time she's alone. She doesn't have Jaime with her because Jaime is now, headed somewhere north. We don't really know how far he has gone yet. And then this little tiny Stark thing is because we know that Brienne and the Hound were both at King's Landing. They both are probably headed back north. They both have allied themselves with various forms of a Stark.
And they're friendly.
Yeah,
they do have respect for one another.
They got a little bit. It's like, hey, when you go to your high school reunion, it's like, yeah, you kicked my ass. Like,
Yeah,
once.
respect. Well, you know what else happened? The last episode? Tormund claimed Brienne.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm thinking, Hound's like, what does she look like? She wants to rip your guts out. And he's like, yeah, you know her. You've heard of her then. You know what happens? Someone you've known your whole life, you don't think anything of it, and then your friend says that she or he is hot, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, yeah. Okay.
I never knew until this moment. Yeah. Actually, they could be having with Tyrion too. So moving over a little bit, we got a Greyjoy that's still. Well, I actually called him a Greyjoy Stark.
Yeah.
Because
you don't have to choose.
That's a big deal for him. Yeah. But he's still at Dragonstone, and now he has a new mission, and that's to rescue his sister, who isn't that far away actually. Because if you go just a little over to the sea. We have Euron Greyjoy, who has Yara. They're headed to Essos to go pick up the Golden Company because of that whole lie that he said supposedly. So they're right there. So he actually can catch up with them pretty quickly. Then moving a little north, I mean, we know about the boat and the Batoinking. My guess is that they're headed to White Harbor, which is just a general northern direction. It's a nice docking place. It's where Jon took off from in the past.
Yes.
So that's kind of around where I put them, but we don't know exactly where in the water they are. But that there is motion in that ocean. But there is also a full boat. That's something that I put together when I was realizing, like, look how many people are probably on this boat at the same time that it's rocking. We got Varys. Grey Worm is probably on it. I mean, we're probably sending, unless he's on his own boat that's like alongside.
Where's Missandei then?
Missandei's probably on it too. I just like left her out because
There's
they've
a
been
double
like,
badoinking.
oh my God, Grey Worm and Missandei.
Oh my gosh.
Is that a badoink though?
It's a
It's a bump.
it's a nub rub.
Yeah, hashtag. We got Jorah, Lord Friendzone. We have Davos, who can sleep through anything, so I'm sure it's fine. Tyrion, obviously, we saw.
Yes.
And then Jon and Dany. I think they happen to be on the same boat.
Great little family reunion.
And then up in Winterfell, we do finally, they jumped. Tarly went from Old Town to Winterfell pretty quickly,
Boy
but it
can
was
fly.
useful.
Yeah.
And then, of course, in Winterfell, we also have Sansa and Arya. And the little bear and Bran there too.
His face in that picture
Bran.
is perfect. Oh, that's what he's been like this entire season.
And then here is obviously the big news. I'll jump here real quick. The Free Folk, Beric, and the Free Folk plus Beric are at the wall, or were at the wall at Eastwatch. And then what she's petting is just a picture of Gendry, so you can't even feel it. That's because we don't know where Gendry is right now.
Yeah, he's AWOL.
That's the last time we
just
saw
got
him.
Back.
But the biggest thing that's ever happened on the map of the show is that look where the Night King is, south of the wall. This guy is south of the wall.
All he
He's
needed
south of the wall.
was one dragon to blow a chunk out of it. And I love how they're just moseying on through. There's no rush. They've waited so long anyway. Do you know what else this map needs to do by next season?
Nah.
All that snow, all that ice.
Oh, whiten it all up.
It's going all the way down Westeros now.
That's interesting. I was thinking about how the Night King is headed south, but we actually don't know exactly which direction. And somebody luckily asked a question about like where is he probably headed and what would happen when he gets to different places. I'm really excited to get to that. But that's our map for the last time this season.
Yeah, it's been so great. Well done with that.
Oh, thank you. But the real purpose of the show, that answers one question, where the hell is everybody? But the questions that you guys ask us and you send in over Twitter, it's our Twitter Q&A section.
Yes, you guys hit us up with those questions using that hashtag Westeros Weekly. And these are the ones that we see most often. Question number 1 that you guys have asked, but this one is from @JackHemsley4. He says, why does Rhaegar name 2 of his sons Aegon?
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you right now.
Ha.
Thank you.
But it's Aegon, the pronunciation?
Aegon
gonna
You're gonna.
Aegon gonna tell you right now. Yeah.
I have an accent I can get away with a lot.
You can get away with so much because of your accent.
Thank you.
I have an accent too, but it's just I talk bad times.
What?
So why did Jon? Why would Jon be named Aegon if his father already had a son named Aegon? It is weird, and you are totally right for asking this question. In the breakdown, we go into why this actually. It's not the weirdest thing. There's historical precedent actually for it, but sticking with a character reason here that I want to explain that we don't get into the breakdown. you just have to understand, Rhaegar Targaryen was obsessed with the prince who was promised prophecy. Initially, he thought he was that prophesied prince, but later on, he came to believe, well, okay, it's probably not me, but it's going to be one of my children. That's going to be the prince that was promised. That's why he even was like really annoyed that he only had 2 kids because there had to be 3 heads to the dragon, whatever. But he really strongly felt that whoever the prince was going to be had to be named Aegon, just as a descendant of Aegon the Conqueror, but specifically the first Targaryen king, and he thought it'd be poetic.
Didn't Aegon the Conqueror, he like basically flew into Westeros on his dragon and united all of the different kingdoms under the one ruling?
He united 6 of them,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's definitely a very noble name. It's a very popular name also in their family too, but he was just like, I'm trying to line everything up, get everything just perfect, so he's got to be named that. So honestly, when Rhaegar annulled his, I'm like, annulled? When Rhaegar annulled his marriage
on the wedding night, hey.
Martell, his 2 children, this is something we were talking about earlier. They might technically now be bastards since they kind of don't have a daddy. He stepped out on them.
Oh.
So they would be unable to inherit the throne.
And they'd be Sands.
They would be potential. Well, it depends. It's
Or
so
Waters.
complicated where they were. It really depends. Some people think it depends on where the father is from. Some people think it's where the birth is from. It gets real complicated. Mm-hmm. But the old Aegon that he had with Elie Martell, that little baby, wasn't a prince anymore when he annulled that marriage. So that would leave Rhaegar free to name his new son and the actual heir to the throne, Aegon Targaryen.
Right.
Right. Also, of course, Rhaegar's son was like already dead by
the mountain.
The mountain killed him.
Hence Clegane Bowl.
Yeah,
because
and
that was just a
King's
revenge
Landing.
fest that went really bad.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just assume he told Lyanna, like, hey, this kid's got to be named Aegon. I know it's like a thing. Just pretend that, that whole other family didn't happen. And she does kind of seem like she was like, awesome. I don't want to think about them.
I got a question for you. Do you think that this is going to be the same in the books? Do you think that George R. is going to call Jon Snow Aegon or a different
So I always wanted him to be called Jaehaerys.
That's what I'm thinking, because R plus L equals J.
Yeah. Also, Jaehaerys is another famous Targaryen who lines up a lot better with Jon and Jon's demeanor.
Yeah.
Jon isn't a conqueror, you know what I mean? Dany is. So I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up changing it in the books, especially because in the books, it's so complicated. There already is another Aegon Targaryen. Yeah. It's just.
Hey, you've got 2 years to read the books if you haven't, so that'll tie you over a little bit better.
He has 2 years to write the book.
All right, we've got another question. This one is from @Bob_Precious, and he wants to know what's going to happen with Jaime's ride to the north, and is Bronn coming with him? Great question. All right, so the last that we see of Jaime looking real sad and defeated is him riding off on horseback away from King's Landing. Now, he stated that he's joining the fight up in the north to fulfill not even his promise, but Cersei's obvious put forward promise that she's declared. I thought that was really weird in the show, how she's like, if you do this is treason to the queen. Do you realize that? And it's like, no, well, you promised everyone that. So if you go back on your own word, you're literally treasoning yourself, A. And B, like, he has to look like he's going through with your plan. You can't say that and then not do it.
Right.
I don't know.
So we haven't seen any Lannisters coming.
Yeah.
Right.
The first thing you'll notice about Jaime is that he's not wearing Lannister armor at all. So he's basically removing himself from the kingdom, from being the general of Cersei's now army, and he's just sneaking off in the night.
Right. That also could be why he covers up his hand. Right, that could be symbolic of that. Like the gold of the hand is connected to the Lannisters. Like, well, I'm not really playing as a Lannister anymore.
That, and it's a big giveaway that he's Jaime Lannister.
Yeah,
People who's like, hello, and they're like, wait a
Gold
second,
hands?
what are you doing not in King's Landing? So that's a good point as well. I wouldn't be surprised though if Bronn does join him, and I'll tell you a couple of reasons why. Bronn did this great speech about being really comfortable in King's Landing. He's finally in a really good spot. But you'll notice, he really was happy to see Tyrion again.
Yeah.
And he basically was treasonous by arranging the meeting. So Cersei hates him. Not only Cersei hates Bronn, but Lena Headey, who plays Cersei, apparently isn't a fan of Bronn Jerome either. Apparently they dated.
The actors.
The actors dated in real life a little while ago, and in their contract it says that they can't be in any scenes together. I thought that was ridiculous, but apparently Game of Thrones Facts tweeted that one. And I was like,
Whoa, yeah.
salacious.
If it's from a Twitter account with the word
Has to
facts
be
in
true.
it, yeah.
That aside, though, I really do think that with Bronn's training of Jaime, like that was his purpose. That was the whole reason why he was there. It's Jaime's promise that he was getting his castle. So I think he's going to follow Jaime wherever Jaime goes. And at the end of the day, and this is what I want Cersei to realize, mercenaries just go to the highest dollar. They're not particularly loyal to a person usually. And I think that like Bronn has never really had loyalty to Cersei. He's had loyalty to the people that he's bonded over and who's been paying him. So that's one thing. I also think that they're going to join and add up with this little crew. They're going to have Brienne, Podrick, and the Hound. They're all going up north as well. And Jaime and Brienne have had a history together. Hound and Brienne are now mates again. They're all fighting towards the common goal here. The Hound's got visions in fire.
Right.
Jaime has seen the threat that really does exist. I think these all combined, they have the same thing in common. They all now don't really like Cersei. They're all going to go north and they're all going to fight the actual threat, the undead army.
That would be a badass team up.
I think so
and
too.
And they'd all be in love with Brienne.
But then you've got to get Tormund in on this because he needs to make giant ginger babies with her. And then I think there's going to be the new triangle.
It's a hexagon or something because you got to throw Pod in there.
Oh, yeah. Well, Pod's got his magic sword, if you know what I'm saying. That wasn't in the books, but that was a nice little show ad in there.
In his pants.
And then I think that when they're actually going to plan what's happening in the north, you've got the Night King and Beric Dondarrion. If you noticed at the last episode, was like, that's our new plan. You kill the Night King, you end everything. So I think add Beric's knowledge with Jaime's tactician skills as a commander in an army, with Bran's vision, because Bran can see everything. Yeah, I'm saying it. Bran is going to be useful next season. And they all together in the north are going to take down the Night King. So the real question is, when Jaime does get to Winterfell, Bran is there. Is Bran going to forgive Jaime? Because Jaime pushed him out a window, man. Remember this?
Yeah, gosh.
Look how little he is.
He's a
there.
little baby, and Jaime just does it for love, I guess.
Yeah, he pushed him out a freaking window. The cat's paw wouldn't have been sent to kill Bran if it wasn't for that happening there.
Right.
So this is the act of forgiveness. I think old Bran would have been real unhappy. New Bran, he's like, yeah, whatever, man.
At the same time, didn't he just bring that justice to Littlefinger? You know what I mean? Like, just so everybody knows, like, here's all your crimes you committed.
Yeah, but nothing Littlefinger did ever benefited the Starks, really. Like, Littlefinger sold Sansa and matched him up with Ramsay Bolton.
I think it makes sense that Bran would weigh, like, oh, I've seen all the good things you've done too. Yeah. But at the same time, he's been acting like the three-eyed snitch. You know what I mean? Like, I see everything. You did this. You did this.
Yeah. But wait, hold on. Our wedding got annulled. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the one thing he doesn't know is freaking Sam is the four-eyed raven. Like,
Gilly.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Gilly found it, guys. Gosh.
Who's Gilly? No, I feel so bad for her.
Poor thing.
Yeah.
The one thing she did.
What's our next question?
Moving it on with at Ariana Thread. Can you do a breakdown of distances and time that it takes to get from White Harbour to Winterfell? Ooh. And then the other way for the Night King to get to Winterfell. So who's going to get there first with this distance and how fast they're going?
Okay, you know how much I love math questions.
Sure do.
By the way, we go into the Night King's like upcoming motives and whatnot a bit more in the breakdown, but here I'm just going to focus on the concept of his path that he's going to take with his army. So we've got two options for the directions he can go. So first, if you look by the end, that's Eastwatch by the Sea. If he's headed toward potentially Castle Black, so if he's going west, you can see on this map that there are plenty of other stops along the way of places that he could just totally trash and wipe out. But the most interesting point, which is a little south of the wall, is right here. It's called Molestown, just a little south of Castle Black, if you can see that. Cool. So it's not much of a town, but it does have some notable qualities. It's got a brothel, basically. There's no boats there.
Only for boats.
Yeah, it's just regular boinking or bed boinking.
Boink.
But that's also we saw it on the show because that's where Sam got Gilly a job as like a cleaning lady at a brothel. Not, I guess it could be worse. The other job he could get at a brothel, so he got her a cleaning one. It's also though where we saw last season Sansa met with Littlefinger in secret with Brienne there too.
Oh, yep.
That's like the beginnings of that whole storyline. So we actually have seen Molestown before. So just like the officers of the Night's Watch, maybe the Night King is going to stop over by this area, to build up some brotherly courage and then go and destroy Castle Black.
Hold on. So they're going to get overrun with Winterfell by new brothel whites.
Oh, and I thought there were worse things you could catch from a girl in a brothel, but it could just be a zombie girl. Okay, so we also know that Winterfell to Castle Black is about 650 miles. So if we use a little Pythag theorem there, the Night King's trip there could be like 160 miles. In other words, not that far. And the dead, they seem to stagger kind of at the rate of like a normal human walking pace, which is about like 1.5 miles. So that's about 4.5 days of nonstop walking for them to get from Eastwatch to Molestown, potentially, which is also right by Castle Black.
And they're not going to sleep. They don't need to camp.
They don't need to, yeah.
No, they can keep going.
But wait, are you ready for more math?
Oh, I'm so ready.
You're so ready for more math. Because who says the Night King is going west, right?
You did.
Well, it was an option. But actually, I do have to acknowledge that the Wildlings mostly destroyed Molestown, and we don't technically know if there's anyone even there anymore. So he doesn't need to go that way, and he also doesn't need to destroy Castle Black because he's already on the south of the wall. So there are a few other really interesting places if he does decide to go south instead. So again, he's at Eastwatch, which is in the upper right corner there. If he goes south, he'll hit a little place called Last Hearth and southeast Carhold. Ooh. Now, Last Hearth is the seat of House Umber, and Carhold is the seat of the Karstarks. So basically, you remember little Ned Umber and Alice Karstark?
Oh, yeah, those little guys.
Yeah. The Night King is coming for them, and I love that so much. Last Hearth is only like 5.5 days march from Eastwatch, and Carhold is like maybe like 6 days from there. So, of course, obviously, by the way, this is all ignoring like the speed of dragonflight and the fact that the dead can just apparently run whenever he makes them do that.
And there's giants as well.
And there's giants that can just throw the whites and make them go way faster. But finally, either way, like I think that's interesting. But the most obvious place of where he's probably headed is Winterfell.
He wants to get Bran, let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, he's attracted to Bran. Not in that way, but maybe in that way. Because, Bran is very vain. Oh, that's a reference to Bran maybe being the Night King. We just put up a video about that. Check it out. But Winterfell is I think, the most likely place.
That's the one that we care about.
Yes,
that's where
definitely.
the real threat is.
Right.
How long is it going to take to get there?
Okay, I'm glad you asked because more math. Okay, at marching speeds, actually, it would take a little while. Like 2.5 weeks. Like all the other places were a few days away, but 2.5 weeks. So unless he decides to do some of that, picking up the pace, the giants throwing the whites or whatever, and considering that next season is only 6 freaking episodes long, I gotta say, I think Winterfell is going to be the location of the big final showdown between humanity and the Night King's army. Like that's just, it's got to be there. It would take them too long to get anywhere else. That's like my main reason. But also, of course, Winterfell, it's the seat of House Stark.
Yeah.
What better stage for the final battle against the winter that has always been coming, according to them, especially because that place is known for a big fancy crypt underneath.
Oh, yeah. Hello, Ned. There he is.
I don't think Ned, but there's a lot of dead bodies down there.
Oh, my gosh. I didn't even think about that. They're going to raise Ned.
Well, if they
He's
raise
not
Ned,
going
he'll be
ahead.
headless.
He's
Yeah,
going ahead.
so I don't know about Ned,
Papa?
but other people. Well, I recognize that torso. Like,
I do remember, though, when Jaime Lannister was planning, he said that the Dothraki army would take 2 fortnights to get to Winterfell. That is a month. So the Night's King and his army is going to get to Winterfell 1.5 weeks sooner.
except the show does different stuff.
What do you mean?
I just mean that they pick whatever time is convenient for them, which, hey, I appreciate the better tension and better conflict.
You came in with Pythagoras' theorem.
No,
I came
I know.
in with knowing what a fortnight was, okay?
Hey,
Two of them a month.
We're both mildly intelligent.
That's a win.
We both have 8th grade knowledge is what we're
Yeah.
showing there.
A plus B.
No, my point is just like, of course they're going to manipulate the timeline.
Yeah.
I mean, let's all remember it took them 7 years to get like the same distance we're talking about.
Yeah. I love that fast forward button when it comes to travel, though. I just get to the good stuff.
Yeah.
We do have another question, though. This one comes in from @PureMohammed, who says, when did Arya and Sansa plan all that? Just this episode? Did Bran tell them in the Godswood earlier? What happened at Westeros Weekly? All right, first of all, I'm going to say there's not really any way for us to know for sure.
Right.
I did watch the after episode with the executive producers, and they wanted to keep the audience in the dark about it and just reveal it at the 11th hour. So there was a lot of missing conversation in there, which was a little bit hard. Now, the fact that Arya and Sansa's arguments seemed pretty authentic and they weren't doing that in front of anyone else kind of makes sense that they weren't really on the same page until recently. So that kind of bickering that they had and like
It was
that
like
threat.
too legit.
Yeah, like the way that Arya was snooping, accosted and accused Sansa. She went into her bag, found a freaking face mask. Like there's a lot of reason why that they wouldn't be seeing eye to eye at all.
Right, and you would think they'd be like, are they watching? Is he looking? If it was all fake.
Exactly. So I will throw out, though, this theory that the moment that Sansa sends Brienne away, remember how she's like, you have to go right now. You know, basically because Littlefinger was saying that Brienne could be used against Arya to take her out. That's definitely evidence of some amount of scheming against Littlefinger's plans.
Right, at least as far back as that. We talked about that in another episode of Westeros Weekly. That like it definitely felt like she was aware of what he was trying to do, and it's like, well, I'm smarter than that. It's just whether or not she started a scheme against him at that time. It's tough to know.
It might have started the scheming, that is, right after Peter implies that Arya's a threat to Sansa.
Oh, right.
Yeah. It could be as recent as after Littlefinger trying to get Sansa to think of Arya as someone who wants to kill her. That little mind
episode.
Game. That's right. That happened this time. Either way, I think a conversation with Bran probably happened when we never saw, but the conversation did happen.
So I just got a text from someone that's sitting in this room with knowledge that we don't have because this just came out as we're filming this.
What?
The actor that plays Bran said that,
Isaac.
they shot a scene and it got cut where Sansa goes to him and says, I need your help.
Oh.
And essentially it's like, oh, wait, I'm an idiot. I have a security camera guy. I'm telling you, the three-eyed snitch. Like, he's right there.
You would feel so bummed out if you were Isaac, because he's been copping a lot of heat this episode. Well, Bran has, his character. A lot of heat for just knowing everything and doing nothing. And we didn't get that payoff from him involving himself in a way that's helped and benefited the Starks.
Fascinating, because I felt like it was implied. Like, he was sitting there at the table with her, so it just felt like, oh, they've consulted with him.
And when he tried to deny it and he's like, no, yeah, you weren't there. None of you were there. Actually, you put a knife to his throat. Yeah, man.
He's so emo now.
I wrote a song about it. You should listen. It's in A minor. Anyway, that's pretty much answers that question. Yes, they all schemed. Yes, they talked about it. But like Littlefinger, I think it's symbolic because Littlefinger always had one step ahead or even 3 steps ahead in the Game of Thrones. He even said to Sansa, constantly play out every scenario.
Right.
A, in worst case, but B, everything happening at the same time, every scenario. And yet he was completely blindsided.
Oh, I love that.
It was
the
just
face.
Perfect.
The face that
the white guy blink gif.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love the note where like I'm sure in the script it's like Littlefinger is dumbfounded for the first time.
Yeah, he didn't see it coming at all.
Yeah.
The death, though, I know that Arya is an assassin, so doesn't need to gratuitously kill anyone. Just a couple of stabs before she slit.
We don't know if she visited the body later. And, just like, and this one's for this.
It was just kind of over. Like he played such a prominent role for 7 seasons, and it was like dead.
Yeah, we gotta do a shot for him. You know what's crazy is also I just remembered like Varys outlived him. Like you kind of just like always pair those two together as like they felt like equals, and then
Spiders
it's just like
and snitches, and
who you pick sides with. That said, like Littlefinger's always been playing for himself, and if you take Varys at his word, he's playing for the realm. So maybe that noble cause.
And Littlefinger had a little thing called lust for redheads.
Right,
related.
Tormund. Yeah. Speaking of,
our
last
question number 5.
Ugh, what is it?
Well, it's from Jack Hemsley 4 again. Hey,
yeah.
buds. He wants to know, is Tormund dead? He's our favorite redhead man. Dead.
Oh, man. Okay, this is our last question before predictions and power rankings, by the way. Season 8 predictions, by the way.
Oy.
But, yeah, I know. It definitely looks like a really inescapable situation for Tormund and for Beric Dondarrion. So, to answer, like, just straight up, did they die? We just went back, watched it to get real clear here about the key moments, and I'm just going to give my best guess. We know Beric and Tormund were standing there at the top of the wall, as you can see, and then we see them turn back and they see the walls collapsing behind them. You can see that, one of Tormund's guys is about to go plummeting down.
Yeah.
So this right here is the last shot that we have for sure of what's going on with Tormund. So I can't say for sure, but if this section of the wall that he's currently standing on did not come tumbling down like it did for his friend, which looks like it's possible if you look at this shot over here, you can see that section of the wall up there. I'll zoom in on it.
It's just a chunk out of the wall. It's not the entire wall.
And it's everything kind of to the left, or I guess to the east side, it, like headed toward the ocean, fell into the ocean. But that one cliff right there, that feels like right where Tormund and Beric could be standing.
Got it.
So I guess they could have just narrowly escaped, and that would make sense because these characters definitely deserve a clear on-screen death if that ever happens for them. Now, here's my real question about the situation. What about Gendry?
My baby boy.
Yeah, because last we heard, he was recovering from that marathon run at Eastwatch.
So brave and
fast.
Yeah,
to run away from a fight. So brave.
He was the fastest one.
That's what they tell a kid who can't fight. It's like, well, that's why God made you fast.
He had a hammer.
And he gave it away. It's fine. I'm just like a little bit like, oh, Gendry's gonna be such a badass, and then he didn't get to be one this season. I think
You're telling me.
I'm hoping he will be next season.
He's with Davos.
Unless he's dead. Unless he's dead.
Okay, he's not dead.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think they would kill him either without showing it. Yeah. So I guess we just have to hope that he's like also on Dany's boat, and we just
not even joke about him being dead?
Sure. He was under the bed the whole time.
Yeah.
While they were doing that.
No.
Yeah, and he's grimacing too. He also is disapproving of it. Him and Tyrion are gonna have a whole bitch fest about it.
He's buddying up with Davos. They're chummy as.
Davos is behind the curtain.
No.
It's a small boat.
Oh my god.
There's a lot of people on it.
A lot of people on it. Maybe they're very quiet. Anyway, let's move on to power rankings.
Ooh.
This is, of course, where you vote who you think had the most influence and who's the strongest character and who's basically on their way to the Game of Thrones, aka now Ultimate Destruction. Yeah. So anyway, you've got the votes in. It's the finale. Should we just get through it?
Who's got the power of the last episode of the season? Tell me.
For the finale, coming in at number 3 with 8%. Finally, first time on the board, Sansa Stark.
Ooh, welcome to the board, Sansa.
Yeah, successful lady of Winterfell now. She's not getting challenged. She's soon going to find out, or if not, doesn't already know, that Jon isn't a Stark. So she holds full power of Winterfell now, which will be the threat of the upcoming season.
Yeah,
that'll
she's
be the
also
pinnacle point.
So she's the the lady of the house that is, again, part of the central conflict that's going to happen, but also in the same way that Ned would have been. And by that I mean, like, she's really filling her father's shoes. Yeah. We see that this episode when she's the judge and she's kind of being just at the same time. The
judge,
trial's
jury,
not that fair.
And with Arya as the executioner.
Right.
Yeah.
So she definitely has stepped into a role where I do totally get. She kind of almost is Queen of the North.
Yeah.
And because Winterfell is going to be so important, I get her being on the board for sure.
I think
she's earned it this episode.
I think you realized that with not her working against Arya, but with Arya, those two together are going to be quite a formidable force. And ladies, you know what I'm saying?
I feel like they're a yin and yang. Like it takes both of them to.
Yeah.
They're opposites, and yet they're a whole when they're together. Kind of like Iron Fist and never mind.
I was going to say kind of like Dany and Drogon.
Oh yeah,
Dany calls the shots, but Drogon executes it.
Yeah, kind of. Very very similar to that. That's interesting. Who's next?
Jon Snow.
Ooh.
A bit of a climb. 21.4% of you guys voted for Jon. He's got power, all right. And I always wanted. Stop talking, Maude. I always wanted Ghost to ride Drogon, but instead a wolf rode a dragon.
Well, he's kind of like a ghost because he did die.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but his heart is definitely still pumping.
Something else is too. Maude, stop
Filup.
it. They got it on, all right? That's why he's on 21%.
It's obvious why Jon is. Who's number 1?
Number 1 is Night's
Ooh,
King.
the Jelly Man himself.
40.2%. It's my favorite GIF, guys.
know.
It's my favorite GIF. If you haven't tweeted it yet, you're missing out because he does a little dance for you.
I love the people that don't know what you're referencing.
Oh,
the Night King. And
where he
people are like,
rises and he
is he
does
trying
a
to
little
like, he's a
dance.
waiter that's tripping with all his plates. Like, whoa! The
that
Night
would
King.
require him to talk.
Yeah,
So
but I like my waiters not talking. But the waiter, or the waiter, the Night Waiter, the Night King
the
killed
wait
it.
is over.
The Night King is amazing. Like throughout the season, I mean, like if you really think about it, this guy is just owning Westeros. Look how badass he looks here. Like he looks cooler than Dany does. Dany holds a Drogon like really low, and she's kind of like, "Ooh, I might slip."
Yeah, that's
and
true.
He's like, "Let's do this."
I feel like this is a man who has waited so long for the perfect piece to put into his puzzle. Like this is a man of patience who's waiting, like who's happily going to let a lot of little things happen over the course of centuries, and that doesn't even matter until the one big thing happens, and that's the wall, and now it's down. Well, it's the dragon, then the wall, now it's
And
down.
if you watch our last episode, you know that if he's planning all of this and can see all of it kind of the way Bran can see a lot of these things, maybe he's been that patient that long and just doing chess moves at a macro level that are like across 1,000 years. You know?
Yeah.
And by the way, it's like a no-brainer that, kill count-wise, there was one person that had
Of
a kill.
course, the one, Arya,
Right,
sliced
Littlefinger.
with cat's paw, opened out Littlefinger's throat.
But the person that actually wins the kill count.
Yeah, right, fine, it's the Night King. Night King's taking out everything. Night King
Yeah.
wins again.
Man, this picture looks like upside down. So how many did he kill?
This is the thing. He blasted a chunk in a wall. When we saw Tormund up there with Beric, it seemed to there's not no one there. Could
Right.
be anywhere from 2 to 100.
Right. So let's say, average that.
Sure.
52 then. 52
51.
person kill count there. So that's pretty huge, actually, in the grand scheme of the season. But speaking of the grand scheme of the season, and since it's the end of the season, we actually did a whole other power rankings and kill count for the entirety of the season.
Yeah, all 7 episodes. We have combined all the kills and then all of the percentages that you guys voted in the polls all together. So let's kick it off with the kill count.
For
This
the
is
entire season,
whole season.
the winners are...
Yeah, coming in at number 3, someone narrowly beat out Jon Snow. Arya Stark, man. Arya Stark got about 36 kills.
Man, just from opening the season up by opening up a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. That number like stayed legit.
Did she
whole
burn the
season.
bodies?
I hope
Probs
not.
Probs not.
Yeah.
They're probably all gonna.
She wasn't all into this burning the body thing
No.
until she got to Winterfell. Even now, she might
Cool.
not be.
Great.
So she comes in 3rd place for the entirety of the season of kill counts.
Oh man,
who's
she
next?
beat Jon. Jon would not like
Yeah,
that.
just barely though.
Coming in at number 2, Night King. Anyone who killed at the wall, we're saying 52. So he killed 52 people.
So all of the free folk basically that were the new Night's Watch at
the
Eastwatch.
thing with the Night King, that he kills them, but then he brings them back. So did they really die?
Yes.
Yeah, they're undead.
Yeah, they're dead.
Good.
Yeah.
Coming in at number 1, take a stab. It is the tag team champions of the world, Dany and Drogon.
Man.
We're looking at about 334 kills this
Oof.
season.
Ooh.
Every episode, I feel like she just took someone out, or Drogon.
She's
or a
like
bunch.
Genghis Khan or something. Like, this is amazing. Like, I don't know that we'll ever see anyone hit a number like that. Like, Dany this season might have just maxed it out and ruined it for like the entirety of the rest of the show all next season.
Technically, there's no blood on her hands. Drogon.
Well, if you make it
has done
Drogon, we did decide in our kill count how it works. It's
Yeah.
like if you're using it like a tool,
Yes.
then it goes to her. But yeah, I mean, it is Drogon.
Yeah, and it's not even Rhaegar.
I do want to see Dany grab one person, like just choke them real bad.
Just kill someone.
Yeah, just one person.
Come on.
Oh, I'm so mad. What about the power for the entirety of the season?
So if you were like me and started voting as well, every vote did count towards this. Coming in at number 3, it was a 3-way tie between that's next season. Jon Snow, Cersei Lannister, and Euron Greyjoy. All 3 of them had pretty much an equal percentage in 3rd place.
Yeah, and by the way, the math on this is like based on all of your votes, kind of who were consistently showing up at the top, and then kind of what their voting average was. It's scientific, wink, But these three definitely represented and very often were in the tops of the power rankings. What's fascinating about this is that Euron's even there at all. And again, I'm going to say it's because he's that force of chaos where like, you know, she's got this huge plan. He's got this huge plan. And him just playing for himself.
He'll flip a table.
Messing up, exactly, everyone else's plans. Like, yeah, the guy playing Monopoly that flips the table is kind of the one with the most power.
Yeah, for sure. The game's over then.
Yeah,
Well,
or your Aunt Joyce, who does that too. But
do you have an Aunt Joyce?
I know your Aunt Joyce.
She's dead.
I knew your Aunt Joyce. Number 2, please.
I love how look at that just got. Number 2 is Daenerys Targaryen.
Ooh.
She's got some power, that one. Again, she's got the armies. She's got people that are swearing fealty to her. People are listening to her. She's a huge threat.
2
This
dragons.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
That one's
Dany's kind of
obvious.
like the like no-brainer. Like, she showed up to Westeros and she pretty much owned it.
She
You know
means
what I mean?
business, man. She took
Yeah.
out those Tarleys like to make a point.
Right. Think about what a legend Aegon is, and it's like, yeah, Dany's gonna have the same story about her. She came in and she's a legend. She's wiping everyone out, especially if she also takes down the Night King.
Good face
Yeah.
for that one.
So then if she's number 2,
Yeah, number 1, man. The most powerful person in the Game of Thrones
this season.
does not even care about the Game of Thrones. It's the Night King.
Ooh, this was I was just saying, this is such a good season for him. Go back and look at everything the Night King did this season, and it all goes well for him. It's almost like when you're playing like D&D or something and you like roll a 20 and it's like, I didn't even expect it to go that well for me.
I know all about that.
Yeah, a little bit. Geek Bomb, you can check it out.
Yeah. He's got great aim as well, it turns.
That's kind of what I mean. Like, everything that he attempts goes so well for him.
DM. Okay, so miraculously, I have an ice spear, and there's like a dragon circling. It's definitely moving, but I want to throw a spear at it and kill it like nearly instantly. What do you reckon?
That's what you think he's gonna sound like? Yeah, just like
Well, we
a
don't know
douchey
because
bro. who's
he
like,
hasn't said a word.
Man, decapitate dead people. Yeah.
Night bro.
I'm still. He's a bro. He's a waiter. He's everything. I'm in love with him. I think he's amazing. And I'm so impressed with the fact that the show is like not letting the heroes kind of like show weaknesses in him yet, because like I think he's going to be the big threat obviously for season 8 combined with Cersei from the south.
Yeah.
You know, him from the north, Cersei from the south, war on 2 fronts. But if he is what he's been, plus they add a motivation to him, oh man, that's what I'm really hoping for. I'm kind of upset if they don't do. But
Yeah.
I'm really excited about the possibilities.
Throwing something out there, and we are going into predictions, so maybe this is the best way to get by season 8 predictions. There's so much that's happening and what could happen, but this flashed into my head, so I'm going to completely go off script and just drop this one. Cersei's pregnant, has a boy, Night King turns it in front of her. What?
So he just like takes like a quick ride down to King's Landing, and he's like,
We don't know
like
where she's
wearing
going.
like tan makeup so that he looks like a normal guy, and he's just like, oh, sorry, oh, beautiful baby, can I hold it? And then he just zaps it.
If he's got really no god, he could be one of the faceless men that we never knew about. And the old gods and the new gods. He could be all of it. He could be a god.
This isn't crazy enough. Give me one more thing.
A kraken's going to eat a dragon.
There you go. Yeah, that's my favorite thing that you predicted for season 8 is that Kraken, that Greyjoy. The
Oh my
Greyjoys
gosh,
can
no,
theoretically
kraken's
bring
going to
up.
eat an elephant. There you go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, why
they
not?
are talking. Well, there's gonna be a Kraken picking up an elephant when he goes and picks up the Golden Company. Elephants are gonna be a fun addition.
So weird, huh?
To this whole thing, yeah.
What are
My
your
predictions.
predictions?
I mean, I kind of went through definitely what I was saying with the Night King's going to be like the threat from the north. I do think that they will add a motivation to him, and we're going to find out like why he's
Children of
trying
the
to do
Forest
this.
going to come back?
Yeah, I would hope so. Something related to them where maybe that it's a personal reason with them, kind of that he's like he wants to avenge what they did to him or something. Also in season 8. Yeah, we'll definitely have to figure out what happens with Cersei's pregnancy. I don't think it's going to end well because of the Valonqar prophecy. Well, the Maggie the Frog's prophecy.
Yep.
I think that it's going to be a little frustrating because I've said it before. I don't love when people on the same side fight. I think there's going to be huge strife between Jon and Dany when they find out.
Got it. Okay.
I don't want there to be, but I think there will be.
I think Bran's going to serve an amazing purpose. I think Brienne and Tormund are going to get it on, whether it's in a boat or not sure.
Kind of sounded like she said Bran and Tormund.
Brienne. Sorry.
An amazing purpose.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And I also think we are going to see the team up again of the Hound and Arya.
That'd be great. I think that reunion is definitely an impressive one, especially now he knows that she's like a great fighter. He's like, who's protecting her?
She survived, yeah.
Yeah. That's good. Okay, I'll keep going.
And of course, Arya has to get the rest of her list going, and she's got Littlefinger's face, so of course she's going to be infiltrating the South with Littlefinger.
Depends on if the word spreads about Littlefinger's death. If it doesn't, she definitely could use him. Yeah. But chatty people. Yeah.
Who does the veil answer to though?
Well, little Robin Aaron.
What? Are we going to see him, that little snivelly?
I think we will, and I think he's going to be 8 feet tall, but still awkward as hell.
And I don't want to bring up while we're here, everyone's like, oh, aunt, nephew, that's so gross. At one stage, Sansa was set to marry Robin Aaron, her cousin. Aren't they cousins?
Yeah.
There you go.
They are. And he's a sickly cousin, so it's an even worse combination. That's a I thought you were doing an impression of his face.
That was.
Like, oh, good. Yeah. Then I'm sorry that I thought you were just making that face for a second. Anyway, my last thing, I said it earlier, Winterfell. It's all going to come down to Winterfell.
Surely, we're not going to see any more Dawn. We're not going to know any more about Marine.
Nah.
We just don't care anymore, huh?
Nah. No, you could even see on the map, like, it's gone. There's no one there anymore, right?
Dario Naharis, is he going to come back?
That'd be cool, but meh, we'll see. He's running Marine. Maybe he's happy. He's probably living quite the life, actually. Guys, watch to the end of this video to see the artwork that you guys submitted for what those 7 gentlemen were up to north of the wall while they were waiting for Dany to show up and save all of their asses.
Yeah.
You guys did some amazing stuff. I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, and thanks for tagging me in those too, so I get to see them as well. And thanks so much for watching all season long and letting us, do something new, weird.
Yes.
Thanks for putting up with my puns. That's
I don't know if everyone did, but I did. I enjoyed them.
Thanks so much.
I did. They're funny.
I'm out of order.
Also, make sure you subscribe to this channel for all sorts of Game of Thrones content. Yes, there is going to be even more content even after the season's done. And follow New Rockstars on Twitter to keep up with everything else this channel has going on, including, a brand new show that is starting up very soon.
Yeah, you could make it sound more excited than that.
Hey!
Yeah, Night King!
No, this is a waiter that is tripping. Sorry. All right, how do we find you?
You can follow me at Maude Garrett, and if you are on YouTube right now, which you probably are, jump over to Geek Bomb and give that a sub, because I think I'm going to get one of those, a silver button.
Oh, cool. Oh, you're about to hit that 100K.
Yeah, I know, you hit 1 million and I'm trying to get 100,000,
Dude,
but hey.
no way. The first 50K were the hardest, and I was I was honestly the most proud of that. I'm very impressed by what you've done there. It's a great channel. You guys should check it out.
And we do have a D&D-esque style show that you can see this face in at some stage as well.
Yeah, there's another episode with me soon, I think. I'm Filup Molina. You guys have talked to me on Twitter already, but keep doing it. It's at Fimo. I love it. I'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.